Welcome to The Perfect Balance, where this is the podcast where we discover your symptoms are not the problem, with your hosts, Eva Vennari, Dr. Heather Kneale, and Leslie Brown. Join us as we jump right into this episode. And this is The Perfect Balance podcast, where we talk about how your symptoms are not the problem. My name is Eva Vennari. I'm founder of the Elevate Institute, and I help entrepreneurs overcome chronic burnout.
My name is Dr. Heather Kneale, and I'm co-founder of Global Nutritional Healing, and we offer certificate programs in mineral balancing.
Hi, I'm Joy Feldman. I'm co-founder of Global Nutritional Healing, and as Heather said, we help practitioners get certified in mineral balancing and hair analysis.
And I'm Leslie Brown, founder of Conquer Chronic Illness, and our focus is on detoxing heavy metals.
Now we're going to get heavy into our subtitle of the show today. It's about how your symptoms are not the problem, for real. Like, symptom free is not necessarily healthy. People think that's the goal.
True.
So let's talk about what the goal really is and what does it look like to be symptom free but sick. Let's start there.
Yeah, symptom free but sick. So it's very easy to chase symptoms. We get a rash, we put something on it, or we get a headache, we take something for it. But why are we getting these symptoms? So we're covering them up, and they're still going to keep going and progress, but we're never really getting to the root cause. So did you improve your health by taking, certain things to cover up all the symptoms or not? That's the question.
Oh,
I know, right?
Because healing is more than ridding yourself of symptoms. There's so many different levels to what healing actually means, and I think that gets lost in our culture. We're driven to certain ideas, and there's so much more to just getting rid of a disease name or whatever your symptom is. There's so many different things that can show itself as a way to heal.
Yeah, those symptoms, we're so used to thinking in terms of symptoms, aren't we? Really, we're trained that way. I think at two extremes. One was, I didn't realize for myself, I was so sick, I didn't even realize I had symptoms, right? I was mentioning this in another podcast, but I literally couldn't feel anything. So I didn't even recognize that as a symptom, or my brain was so full of different toxicities that I couldn't think about my body in that way. All I could think about was just push through and get into the next day. So I had complete unawareness of what was going on. It's almost like I lived separate from my body. And another time I was doing some weight loss deal, and I tried some gimmicky thing. And I went back to a doctor, and she said, "How are you feeling?" I said, "I feel great. I've lost all this weight. I feel like $1,000,000. And she looked at all the tests that she'd taken. She goes, "Well, you're close to multiple organ shutdown." Oh, well, that wasn't exactly what I expected to hear. So what had happened in that case, my thyroid had been pushed so hard through this process that I was following that it gave me all sorts of energy, because your body's going to try and keep you alive. And that's what's happened. And I almost went into, like I said, total organ shutdown. So symptoms aren't always the best measure. You want to feel better, but it also helps to have some objective tests and measures. That's been my mantra lately. And of course, what we do is hair tissue mineral analysis, and you get a good picture of what's going on in the body. And that helped me a lot too, just to see something that I wasn't aware of before, actually in black and white or blue and white on a piece of paper.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Then I've had a few people who they hear the problems that I've had in the past, and like, am I an ideal client for, like, why would I come work with you, Eva, if there's no symptoms like you had? Well, I've had individuals that says, I just want to optimize my health. Is this good for that? Yeah, man, that's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
And they come into this whole idea of nothing's wrong with me. I'm just optimizing. I'm just gonna, it's like the I'm just getting the best that I can out of my body.
And then we do the hair test, and the analysis reveals, kind of like your situation, Leslie, the organ shutdown is a ton of toxic load, an immune system that's not working right, a digestive system that's not fully supportive. Like, you can see all of this. You can see if the glands are working. You can see if the body's getting rid of toxins the way it should. And if you're not feeling symptoms, it's more like a yet situation. You're just not feeling them yet. It doesn't mean you're healthy.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Like, just like Leslie was saying that she said she didn't feel anything. You know, she wasn't, I mean, she felt energy, but she really wasn't like in tune with her body. And there are hair analysis patterns. We call them a calcium shell, really high calcium, 4-low pattern where all the minerals are low. That's another where we often see that people are not really feeling their body. And there's other patterns too, but those are the main two I can think about. I just got a hair test. I had it today. I have a person, Eva, this is the exact same. She wasn't sure if she was going to do it. She doesn't have any symptoms, nothing going on. You want to know what her copper level is? 70. 70. 2.5. I mean, we're talking like, this is way, I mean, how many times higher is that? Like, what 30,
A lot.
40, so she's got this really high copper, and her calcium, which is supposed to be around 40. Most people are a little above, a little behind, behind it, below it. Hers is at 535.
yeah.
Oh,
So she's
Heather, would you elaborate on copper just a little bit there? So for people who are listening, because for us, we're all like, whoa, baby.
Yeah, so really high copper. I wish I had her test right here. I have it. But her copper
dissociated from her body.
Right. So she's a vegetarian. So most of the copper proteins most of the proteins that she eats comes from copper. And it can also, you can go to your liver, your reproductive organs, your brain. So, she just doesn't think she has any health issues. She just said sometimes she gets tired. Well, this is another case of somebody not in tune with what's going on. And so so copper, you can get it from copper water pipes. You can get it from, your parents. I mean, I know for me, that's how I had copper toxicity. My mom had it. I had it. It can also come from just being tired. Your adrenals slow down, and then the adrenals don't do what they're supposed to do to signal the liver to do what it's supposed to do to have the copper. It's like a chain reaction when something doesn't work. So there's lots of reasons why we get copper toxicity, but then also the symptoms there's a tremendous amount of symptoms. It can be mental. I mean, there's just so many. We have a book of like, wow. Joy and I have a book. It's like, I don't know, maybe 100 symptoms of copper, so.
But it's more agitating the nervous system than it is giving you good, steady energy.
And
You do feel mental. Yeah, go ahead, Joy.
No, I want to add to what you said. I think that's a really great point. And similarly speaking, like for me, I was the queen of what we'd say sympathetic dominance, where you think you have all this great energy, but it's false energy. It's from striving, it's from pushing, it's from willing yourself. So people think, oh, I'm great, I have all this energy, and then you come in and you do a hair test and you see that you are really in your sympathetic overdrive, which means basically you're in fight or flight. So your body's just filled with all of these stress hormones. And, for me, I just didn't realize, like, I thought I had energy. But what I did finally come to learn as being on this program is I finally started to relax. And then, boy, it hit me how tired I was.
Not in tune.
Yeah, I really got smacked, let's say. And I'm so grateful and fortunate that I was introduced to meditation now over 30 years of doing this, of realizing how hard it is to kind of down regulate your nervous system when you're so strung out.
Yeah.
And you don't even know it. So really taking the time to breathe and to be quiet, kind of what we talked about in another podcast, is how not to busy yourself so much and what happens when you stop busying yourself. What is it you're feeling? What is it you really need? What are you afraid of? Blah, 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 all that stuff. But really, sympathetic dominant would be below 5 on the hair test for the mineral potassium, which lets people know that they are living in a fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
Even be aware.
You know, I wanted to add on that. I could tell when I was going through some of those conditions that you're talking about. My family we always rubbed each other's shoulders. That's just something.
I'm coming over.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we're really good at it.
Me too.
Okay, come on over. And but I felt they always comments, Les, you feel like concrete. You know, you must have great muscles. And no, that's not what it is. It's the muscles were so depleted of what they needed and so toxic with what they didn't need that I just couldn't relax them. They were just so tense. But once that happened, it felt more like skin again, you know, more like natural muscles. I still have good muscle tone. Got to get that in there. Good muscle tone, but it was more relaxed. It wasn't that concrete feeling. So there are very real physical things that come up when we're out of balance that way.
Well, you're bringing up a really good point about what people experience, maybe even do or don't go to the doctor for to get some sort of diagnosis for. But once they have a name for it or a solution for it that's temporary, they no longer consider it a symptom. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
And so it's like, oh, well, that's taken care of. I don't have that problem anymore. So I had somebody came to me for allergies, knew what it was. And he says, oh, I'm perfect otherwise. And he did look like an Adonis, went out, worked out, was at the gym daily, you know, looked great, but was so disappointed in his hair analysis results that I found so many things wrong that he didn't continue. I took it personal. I wasn't trying.
Right.
This is all about you. It's all about your hair, you know? And so he didn't consider himself somebody who was living with symptoms other than, I just have allergies, but he had all kinds of other issues going on that we could clear, we could help with.
Yeah. Symptoms are very deceiving, you know, we even see it with, I don't know, I'm sure you all have seen this, is that you get somebody who starts the program, they have like 50 symptoms, and then they get a retest and they have maybe 20 symptoms have disappeared. And you know, they're like, I never had that. This program hasn't done anything. It's not helping me, you know, and I'm like, oh, well, you had this. And they're like, oh, I marked those down. And I'm the same. I remember when I started getting rid of some symptoms, it was like, I never had it. Mm-hmm. It's like the mind is just like, oh, it's gone. I don't have, no. And just like you were saying, they would take something to get rid of a symptom. And it's like, I don't have it. It's taken care of, you know?
Right. And it's not.
No, it's not taken care of.
You know, even childhood diseases. I don't know if you guys had that experience, but like mumps, people don't realize that sometimes those conditions, I don't know, mumps, I'm going to say it's a bacteria, maybe it's a virus. I don't know what it is. But I noticed when I started in on the program, my body healed itself. I had mumps again. I revisited mumps. And what I realized then that I didn't know at the time, I mean, at the time I didn't know, what I understand now is the body was pushing all that stuff out. And then it didn't last long, a couple of days, and then it was gone. But we have things working inside, silently tearing us down that we have no idea is there. And I guess I've always been motivated. I wanted to be a really, really good steward of my body. I wanted to know what it's like to live in a body the way it's designed, without the toxicities and with all the good nutrients in it. And that's what motivated me through a whole bunch of symptoms that I'd had. But back to the topic, which is, what do you know, no symptoms. I didn't have any symptoms of mumps, but that certainly didn't mean that it wasn't in there. It was in there. I just didn't know it. And that's important too, because what you don't know can hurt you. And we want to take care of that. We want your body taking care of
you. Yes, they're very important.
Yeah.
It's a good topic, very good topic. And it's something I think our clients learn as they go through the process.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I love that the hidden virus that's been banging around in the body. Wasn't there a statistic in one of the books for mineral balancing science that we carry around with us somewhere between 6 and 12 viruses, right? Causing inflammation that the body simply doesn't have enough energy in its immune system to kill it off. So what does it do in the meantime?
Causes problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it makes our makes our energy, or we get symptoms, or, it's doing something, so, and I wanted to mention, you don't have to know all the things going on in your body to do this program.
No, you don't.
When you start getting the right minerals in your body, your energy goes up, and then your body takes care of itself. That's very simply put. You don't have to go, I know I have this virus and that virus and all these different things. You don't have to know. Your body is going to clean out house.
Same with the heavy metals. Oh, sorry. I was going to add just the heavy metals as well. Go ahead, Leslie.
Yeah, I was wanting to add on what Eva was saying. We don't realize that we need energy to feel symptoms. So if we think we're symptom free, we very well may not have the energy to be able to experience those symptoms. And that's a reframe that most people have no idea is a way to look at your body. Just because you may not have the energy to have symptoms. That was really, I had to really jump on that because it was so good. Thanks, Eva.
What were you going to say, Joy?
No, I was just going to add in, about the heavy metals as well. It's another aspect of what's unknown and how they create havoc in the body. And I think, Leslie, you might have said this, but the body will do everything it can to keep functioning. It's brilliant like that. It will keep compensating as long as it can until it can't. And that's where this program, I think, really fits in nicely as you start to unload the heavy metals and the viruses and all the old infections that live in the body that you can't see, but they're there. The body has this intelligence to heal. And all those little biochemical pathways, they reopen. Just takes time and patience and diligence.
Yeah.
Well, I want to touch on that word compensation because we use this word daily. But it is not in an everyday vernacular for most people.
That's
and
true.
So the idea of compensation is like, I call them compensation codes, whether it's a diagnosis or a symptom. They all fit into this category of a code for me. It's like, well, this is what the body's doing to overcome. So let's try to dig in on that. And this is the reason why we think we're healthy when we don't have symptoms, but really the body has done a job to protect us by creating new layers of metabolism to live through. And this is that part of the body that says, we want you to not just survive. We're doing our absolute best that we can. If I'm speaking from the perspective of our cellular structure, our cells are all speaking up with one voice. We're doing the best we can, right? Then, what are some things? We mentioned viruses. We mentioned some bacteria and toxic metals. Yeah, what else could be hidden under there causing problems that we don't even know about?
We've got parasites. We got bacterias. There's so many things that could be hiding out in our body. And like Eva was saying, our body compensates. And why does it compensate? We don't have what it needs to get rid of those compensations. So with minerals, for example, let's say, our pancreas helps us to make insulin, and it needs zinc. And zinc is, if we're not getting it in our diet, our body's not going to produce zinc for us. So we have to get it through our diet and supplements and other things like that. So let's say, like I see a lot of clients that come and they haven't taken zinc for years, and they're not eating meat and all these places where you get zinc. So, they're having sugar problems, so what can happen specifically with the pancreas is that iron can take over. If you don't have zinc, then iron can take over, and iron can help to make insulin. Well, that's not the preferred mineral. That's not ideal. So yes, the body is super smart. It's going to keep going. It's going to make that insulin, but you're going to have problems. There's going to be, you might not have super physical symptoms, but you might be tired, and there might be some small things that you're just thinking is your normal. That's your normal every day.
Right.
Yeah. And if I may just kind of summarize, I have this analogy that I tell my clients, and it's like when we're born, most of us are born in a Ferrari, and we feel awesome and we're wonderful and we're zipping through life. And then as we get older, we drink and we party and we stay up late and we worry and we obsess and we eat junk food and sugar and, all of these things. Well, now I tell people, well, kiss your Ferrari goodbye. What happens is the body starts to compensate. It picks up heavy metals, it picks up different viruses and illnesses, and it starts to use these heavy metals for energy production. Well, you're no longer in your Ferrari. Now you're in a secondhand used Ford with replacement parts. And we all know that car.
Or a skateboard.
Or a skateboard.
You will love that.
Doesn't
Yeah.
drive well. And the key is we got to
That's a
get
visual.
everybody back in their Ferrari. We've got to help people move their heavy metals, their toxins, their worries, their fears, all of their, infections and bacteria, everything we've mentioned, move that out so that that biochemical pathway reopens for the energy to come through, and the mitochondria get happy, and people's symptoms then fall by the wayside.
When you're saying that, when you said worry, there are some things that we do that people don't recognize as symptoms,
I
right?
agree.
So we're saying no symptom, but worry is a big symptom. Fear is a big symptom. And I noticed I talk about clients too, but just for myself, as my brain was freed up, it had the nutrients that it needed to keep working, and it got rid of the bad stuff that was stopping the thought process from happening, the synapses from firing. But once that got balanced out, I could process emotions and think things through and let them go that I didn't even realize were there before. So worry, fear, a lot of that depression, the bipolar, a lot of this mental stuff, the Alzheimer's, right? A lot of this mental stuff that happens they're really symptoms. They're not conditions to be expected in life because you're getting older. They're actually symptoms that there's interference, and it's showing up because of the longevity of the process. And that's important for people to realize too. A lot of this mental stuff really has to do with symptoms, even to the point of, I know it's a tough area, but even to the point of feeling suicidal or like checking out of life. It's in one way, it's your body protecting you from all the craziness, but the chaotic conditions that are going on in the body, the toxicities and deficiencies. But that can be turned around.
Yeah, I have an online questionnaire. It takes 10 minutes to fill out, called the EEQ. This is the Essential Energy Quotient test that I made up. It's basically the FICO score for your body's ability to heal. The very first question is, do you enjoy your work? Like your life and your engagement in life? Nobody thinks about that. If you don't enjoy it, you got a whole lot of out of balance energy in your body that you're having to now overcome daily.
Excellent.
It's true.
Very good point.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're here for, is to help raise awareness around what could be causing, and we talked about obstacles last time, but like what's causing us to think that we're healthy just because we don't have the medical symptoms of dis-ease. And it's more than that. It is. If we're worried, if we shame ourselves, because isn't it common that when our parents are done shaming us for something, this is my livelihood, then when they're no longer around us, we take over because we have the recording, right? And so now we say it to ourselves, and it's like there's time to then undo all of that damage. We have a responsibility to get past the shame, the guilt, the fear, the worry, all of these things that are inappropriate in the body, because they do put such an enormous amount of stress. And let's talk about what stress really is too for a second. It's like it's not stress is not our what goes on around us, right? Dr. Paul, right?
Yeah.
It's the inside job. This is the relationship of minerals in the body that determine our vitality. That's a quote from Dr. Paul. It's like,
yes,
really,
and nobody talks about that.
No, we're talking about it now. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, we don't, when somebody tells me, I can't handle stress. I can't do this. I can't, and I know that like you said, it's an inside job. So then we get the hair test, it's like, no wonder, you're needing B vitamins, you're needing, copper and zinc, so the body we're just saying it's compensating too much. You have too many compensations on the inside of your body, so you've got too many heavy metals, like Joy was saying, or you got too many chemicals, too many bacteria, too many, viruses and other problems going on that it can't handle what's going on outside. I want to give this little story. Okay. So my husband, and he's always been a fast oxidizer, which means he burns his food at a faster than ideal rate. And there's a personality that goes with that too. So and I was always this extreme slow, total opposite, slow. And he had this friend where I did his hair test and he was extremely fast. And I every time he'd come around, I'm like, I can't be here. I'm leaving. I could not handle his energy. And I just thought he was annoying and obnoxious. And, I had all these things. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't like the way he talks. And he's like fidgety, so, I had so many excuses, but as I started to heal, he was friends with them his whole life. So as I started to improve my own energy, I really enjoyed this guy. I'm like, what was my problem? And I look back and I'm like, my energy was so low compared to what his was, that I just thought of him as, annoying, so, but it wasn't that, is that I could not handle him having a lot of energy. And he was really energetic, talked fast, everything fast. And I was just like, ugh, I'll see you later. You guys have a nice guy's day,
Yeah.
And
Well,
Heather, you got back in your Ferrari.
Yes, I got
Yeah.
back in my Ferrari. Exactly.
I hope it's
traded
red.
it. Yeah, I traded it for my skateboard and everything. Yeah.
Funny. That reminded me of a story too. There's a lot of stuff that we'll see that people, they think that's too weird to talk to us about. But we've heard a lot of stories. And there was one, I had a colleague who had, the woman would go hide in the closet, the back corner of the closet, every time her husband came home, which you got to admit sounds a little strange. But when you've gone through the experiences like what Heather's talking about, we start to see in the hair tissue mineral analysis that the body systems don't have what they need to really give you enjoyment in life. And you have to withdraw. You have to withdraw. She just couldn't handle the stimulation of seeing her husband. She just couldn't do it. And those are symptoms that the body systems aren't working in a way that give you life. And once that's taken care of, she's out of the closet and enjoying her marriage again. But we see a lot of that stuff, or even arguments that people get into. A lot of times it's because they don't have the energy to think. So their brain, short circuits. And and the only place the brain can go is argument, because it is not capable of thinking. And all those kinds of things we can help with. So it may sound really strange. And if it gets outside of our scope, we'll say something, but for the most part, we can help.
I wanted to mention real quickly, you said that, fighting or arguing, that's actually a way to get energy. For some people, that they'll start arguments and then they get that boost of energy from it, even though everybody else around them is miserable. Now they're like, they can go do what they need to do because they didn't have the energy. So, I've seen that in some of my families I've worked with, is where, a family member is always arguing, always fighting, always, and then when we get the hair test, I'm like, oh, they have really low energy, so we start to see there's a relationship.
Yeah, there's other places that we can get energy too, which is like listening to, pumping up the music, pumping up the volume. There's a list, I'm sure, but these are a sign of needing to get energy from somewhere. And I think, and this is just me off the top of my head, I'm not a psychologist, but wouldn't addictions come from this place of feeling
Absolutely. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
empty? Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder who started that saying.
All these people with depleted energy in the 60s and 70s. I was there.
Well, there was a lot of them, so yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
That's
Well,
what happened.
Creativity too. I mean, we see a lot of people that
Oh.
are musicians, artists that, all of a sudden we're seeing them in rehabs or, they're having problems with the stuff. And I think I almost think they get to a certain point where they think they have to have that stuff to be creative. And you don't need to have those things.
Yeah, in the short term, it probably gives them the energy boost, right?
Mhm.
Like what you're talking about, an argument, that it can happen
Right.
different.
Right.
Adrenaline.
Mhm.
Adrenaline.
Exactly. Well, we've all done, right.
Yeah.
We've all done things. Mine was coffee, pots of it,
Yeah.
Chocolate.
Yes, chocolate. Yeah.
Chocolate for me. That's something that people are surprised when on the hair tissue mineral analysis that we can get a reading on the energy output of the thyroid or the adrenals, just like what Joy was saying. Because a lot of people will be familiar with the term adrenaline rush or adrenal fatigue, but they won't realize that that is just like one of 17 different biomarkers that we can understand by looking at the hair tissue mineral analysis that other testing just doesn't provide. And we can fit it into a whole picture that can restore health.
Well, hopefully we have raised some really good points of awareness for our listeners to be able to identify and give them a place to start. We're here for you. We're ready to go when you are, but we got to wrap up this episode. We are gone for today. This is Eva with the Elevate Institute.
And I'm Dr. Heather Kneale with Global Nutritional Healing.
And I'm Joy Feldman, also with Global Nutritional Healing.
Leslie Brown, Conquer Chronic Illness.
And this has been The Perfect Balance. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Bye.